Hello, everyone. Our new story is Marigolds, and it's a short story. First thing, The Crisis of Marigolds by Eugenia Collier, who is the writer of this story, is that Elizabeth, so Elizabeth is the main character, a 14-year-old African American girl, doesn't know who she is. The conflict of the story involves Elizabeth trying to find out who she is while growing up in a poor Maryland society during the Great Depression. And when I say the Great Depression, it's the duration between 1929 and 1931 or 32, something like that. It was a period in America in which people suffered too much from the weather, from the unemployment, from the economic crisis that was happening at that time. So things were miserable that to the extent that they named it the Great Depression period. Lots of people committed suicidal because of the economic crisis at that time and all the circumstances that prevailed. Not yet a woman, but more than just a child, so almost she's a teenager. She's 14 actually. Elizabeth spends time with the neighborhood children, causing innocent trouble and acting in childish ways. One hot summer day, the children decide to taunt poor elderly Miss Lottie and her precious marigolds, and here is where the story begins. However, the children at the time do not realize how much the flowers truly mean to Miss Lottie. That night, Elizabeth overhears a conversation involving her parents and their financial and emotional problems. She lets her emotions, which include sadness for never having her mother around, so this is another conflict as well. Growing up in a poor town, being both a child and a woman, and seeing her father's tears of sadness gets the best of her. She then sneaks out of the house and goes to Miss Lottie's house where she destroys the marigolds. When Elizabeth looks up from her destruction, she sees Miss Lottie standing there with disappointment and sadness in her eyes. In that moment, the conflict is resolved when Elizabeth finds out that she is no longer a child but a woman with feelings of compassion. The story is being told from the first point of view, as if it's told by Elizabeth, and it shows the thoughts and feelings of the main character. As you can see, the conflict also is internal and external on both levels, as we had experienced before. As for the themes, here we have three main themes or prevailing themes: innocence, the first one, coming of age, and compassion. When I say innocence, it involves an unseeing acceptance of things at face value, an ignorance of the area below the surface. Elizabeth learns that when she destroys the marigolds, she is no longer innocent. So she associates the deeds with innocence, but later on, when she finds out the impact or the effect of her deeds, she finds or she concludes that this wasn't innocent at all. Coming of age, I scrambled to my feet and just stood there and stared at her, and that was the moment when childhood faded and womanhood began. So she felt responsible. Her confrontation with Miss Lottie make her realize that she's not a child anymore. She has to act more responsibly. The third one is compassion. And when I say compassion, of course, it's related to passion and love. In that humiliating moment, I looked beyond myself and into the depths of another person. This was the beginning of compassion. When Elizabeth saw the look on Miss Lottie's face, she realized that what she did was wrong. And of course, she felt bad for Miss Lottie. All of us, we commit certain misdeeds or actually behave in a very wrong way. We think it's innocent, but we end up realizing that we are hurting other people's feelings. So this is when we realize that we are growing up.